Hello and welcome back to another Average Racing Gamer video. Today we're going to be doing the daily race C at Road Atlanta. Alright, so we've got 3 races for you today, but first of all we're going to start off with the fastest qualifying lap that I did. So getting the best run I can out of the final chicane, so we're carrying maximum speed across the line. Nice and wide turning so we can keep full throttle. So just after we pass the end of the wall on the left, hit the brakes down to 4th gear around 100 miles an hour. Coming up to this chicane in between those 2 dotted lines, hit the brakes down to 3rd gear. Plant the throttle. You keep the line just about right, you can go flat out through here. In the middle of that curb, hit the brakes down to 3rd. Don't go over the yellow line or you'll get a penalty for track limits. Down to 3rd gear and 80 miles an hour, a little bit wide of the apex. Down to 2nd, hit the apex, on the power as soon as possible for this long back straight. On the brakes for the chicane just before that first dotted line, down to 2nd. Cut as much of the corner as you can get away with, and then flat out to the line. Our fastest qualifying lap for today will be a 1:26.2. So that qualifying lap will be for our 3rd race. But let's get straight into our first one, where we will be starting in P14, having only done 2 or 3 laps in qualifying before the start of this race. So we are then at the start of our 14 lap race. There's no pit stops in these races this week. Look up the inside. Take it nice and steady. We don't want to get into any shenanigans on this first lap. There's enough people in front of us that are going to do that. So that's 1, 2 positions. Another couple of positions. Just get a bit of a tag there, pushed it on the grass. Fortunately we were able to keep the car in a straight line. Into the double right-hander. Don't go too mad because the guy in front has a 1-second penalty, so we'll get the position anyway. Follow him up this back straight, pick up his slipstream. And that's up into P8 on this first lap. More contact ahead of us. So not a bad first lap from P14 to P8. Let's see if we can push on a little bit more and get a couple more positions. A little bit wide into that right-hander. Didn't carry quite as much speed as I would like. And there is a coming together up ahead of us. 2 cars off the road. That's another 2 free positions. See if we can make any more progress by the end of this lap. Bit of a wiggle from apex draft out of that corner. That gives us the run on him. And that is P5. Up 9 positions from our starting position. Bit of contact again up ahead of us there. Guy off the road. Can we take advantage and take 4th? Do the old up and under on him. We're slow into the corner, fast out of it. Little bit of contact, but I gave him plenty of space. Little bit of a tag, but fortunately we managed to keep it in a straight line. And that is P4. Just about keeping it inside track limits. Through there. That's wide through that right hander onto the back straight. We're not going to have good exit speed from that corner. Could be under pressure from the Lamborghini behind. He has a look up the inside, but we managed to brake just late enough, and we hold our position quite comfortably into the chicane. So we skip forward onto the next lap, and out of nowhere we pick up 3rd place. It looked like he'd obviously got off the road in this complex and then was reset to the circuit a bit further back after turn 1, so that's gifted us P3. And then we close out that lap with a personal best, and now we have a run of PBs and not really a lot happening. The Lamborghini behind is about between half a second and a second behind. Now we have gone over the track limits on that occasion, and that will give us a half a second penalty. Just as we'd broken clear of the Lamborghini behind us. But at the same time we go up to 2nd place as another gifted position. And we should be far enough ahead that we will keep P2 for the remainder of this lap. Half a second penalty here costs you about a second. And we are still comfortably in 2nd place. With everyone dropping off in front of us, winning this is not out of the possibility. We do have 8 seconds to the leader, which, as you can see on this lap, is under 5 seconds because he too had a moment during this lap. But unfortunately he collected it all together before we could catch him. So now we're just running through to the end of the race. With some fairly good consistent lap times. Starting to struggle on this lap a little bit. With 2 laps to go, I'm allowing the car behind to catch us, and I've gone off the circuit there. I've gone too late, too deep into the corner, and that will be a half-second penalty, which is going to put us under an awful lot of pressure now. But looking in the mirror, it looked like he ran very wide and off the circuit, so he should get half-second penalty too, which will mean that we will at least keep this position for the remainder of this lap, and now likely for the remainder of the race. He gets on the power too eagerly and puts himself into the barrier. So now with 10 seconds to the leader and 6 seconds to the guy in third behind us, we can just cruise through this final lap and bring home P2 for our first race at Road Atlanta. And here we are, crossing the line. Very satisfying P2 in our first run at Road Atlanta. So here we go then for race 2. So I improved my lap time a little bit to a 1:27.2, and that's put us up into P9 for the start of this race. So let's see if we can get ourselves up onto the podium once again. So here we go then, at the start of this race, coming up behind Apex Draft, who we raced in the previous race. Can we get up to the inside of him to turn 1? Not quite. We do take it a bit cautiously, but also that Lamborghini was a bit slow. We've got another Lamborghini on our right, who likes to trade paint with us. We get up the inside, up into P9 briefly, before being quite rudely shoved off the circuit. Little gap opening up behind us with a spinner. And as you can see in the bottom left of the screen, we've got front and rear damage on the car that's going to affect us for the next few corners. I'd call that a little bit of karma there from that Lamborghini. But let's put that out of our minds now. We don't need to worry about him for the rest of this race. Let's see if we can catch up with the group in front. It's not been the most ideal of first laps. Looks like there's been a little bit of shenanigans up in front of us. They're all bunched up a little bit. Let's see if we can close the gap, take advantage of any collisions that happen. We lose one. We're up another spot. Close racing ahead of us. Looks like they're keeping it clean for the time being. I don't know if Apex Draft had to hit the brakes himself, but that caught me out a little bit. Had to slow down a lot more than usual when I went into the back of him. No harm done to him, but got front end damage. Side by side with Ivan, but he was getting the draft from the car in front, and so he's clearly gone back ahead of us. But the door opens up on the outside. He gives us a little nudge as we go through, but the position is ours. We're up to 6th place. Here we are, one lap later, chasing down the two guys in front for 4th place, with 3rd not being too far in front. They both compromise themselves going into the first right-hander. Close right up, make sure we get a good exit, good slingshot out of the corner. We do get the superior drive, but again, as with last time, we've not got the slipstream of the car in front. But we do manage to pull in front, pick up the slipstream, and consolidate P5 as we go into the chicane. Went a little bit deep there. I thought for a second that the yellow car was going to dive bomb, so I had to leave a little bit of space on the inside just in case. But we do keep P5. And now we chase after the Fox in P4. So we need to concentrate on getting a good exit out of here, which I feel like we have done, right into the slipstream. See if we can outbrake him into the chicane. We are on the outside, so it will be difficult. But around the outside, made the move stick. Even if I do say so myself, that was a very good move. Did run a little bit wide on the exit, a little bit fortunate not to get a track extend penalty. But we move on, we're into P4. Now we can set about chasing after P3. I was setting some very good lap times here to try and catch up. I was catching up about 3 or 4 tenths a second per lap. I was being very consistent, and you can see here I'm less than 2 seconds behind him now. And if you look on the left there, the fastest lap out of nowhere, he puts in the fastest lap at 1:26.3, and we drop a second to him on that lap. And that was about as close as we got to him for the remainder of this race. Still setting some pretty consistent lap times, but then the last 2 laps I started getting a bit sloppy. That was a poor lap, which included a cutting of the corner on the chicane, but ultimately P4. I was quite happy with that result. Started P9, finished P4, up 5 places. Didn't have quite as many people fall off the road ahead of me in this second race as we did in the first, so I had to race my way to 4th more in that race. So anyway, we're down to the 3rd and final race of today's video. And this is where I set the lap time of 1:26.2, but as you can see I'm still only in 9th place. Which at the time I thought was very confusing. I was very disappointed with that. I thought at 26.2 I might be in the top 3. However, between the 2nd and the 3rd race I advanced from driver rating C to driver rating B. So now I'm racing against higher class opposition. So let's see how I get on in my first race as driver class B. So it's not a bad place to start, because you start on a downhill, the acceleration will be a little bit better. Make a good launch, get up the inside of the Lamborghini, who brakes quite late but slides his way down so he doesn't go off the circuit, and we do gain a position up to P8. So I just had to check myself there, I nearly went off the circuit. Unfortunately we're going to lose a position to another Lambo. We'd hold it on the inside. Get a nice little tap up the rear, that's nice of him. But we do manage to get the car into the corner normally anyway, so no damage done, no harm done. So we can get through this first lap, settle into a decent pace and see where we can finish. Unfortunately the Lambo behind had different ideas and just didn't slow down and pushed us off the road. And so that drops us down to P13, so we've got some work to do to work our way back up to hopefully at least a top 10 finish. Right, so here's where I'm going to go on a bit of a rant, I think. This guy in front of us, racing for P11. I'm back here because I got shoved off the circuit. I've proved over the last lap and a half that I am faster than this guy in front of us. And what you're about to see is someone defending their position as if this was for the win. Now my gripe with this is, it's lap 3 for 11th place. If someone is so much faster than you, behind you trying to overtake, why make it so difficult? So he's turned in on me there, he's off the circuit, rammed me off the road, and he's absolutely refusing to let me get past. It's holding me up, it's ruining my race. If this was for a podium, if this was 2 laps to go, I'd understand. But on lap 3, when I'm clearly the quicker driver, what is the point in engaging in these sorts of tactics? So anyway, we'll put that out of our minds for now, particularly as he goes off the circuit, and we'll get a half a second penalty, so the position will be ours regardless. But we managed to get up the inside, but once again he throws out the inside, shoves me for good measure, and I might have let off the brakes a little bit just to give him a nudge off the circuit, just to vent my frustrations more than anything else. Ultimately, at this early stage of the race, with the speed difference that we had, I don't see the point in racing someone that hard. If it was for a podium or a win on the last lap, fine. But this early in the race for 11th, what is the point? But anyway, we move on. We're up to 11th. Let's see if we can close the gap to the car in front and get into the top 10. And try and stay on the circuit as well. So coming up to a 3-way fight in front of us. With a bit of luck they'll hold each other up a little bit so we can close in. One guy went off the circuit. Sadly hit the guy that knocked us off at the chicane, and we gained that position back. So that's P9. Right up behind P8, who also has a half second penalty. Had a half look up the inside, but it was never really close enough. So get as good a run out of here as possible. Stick behind this Lambo as close as possible to try and get the slipstream. We'll both slow down and speed up at exactly the same rate. Actually looked a little bit like that we got the better of that. Maybe he didn't change down a gear. Having a look up the inside, but he does brake later than us and keeps his position into the chicane. We won very wide on the exit of turn 1 then, and lose quite a bit of time, but we managed to keep it on the circuit. And then for some reason I decided that cutting through there and saving myself a half second penalty was the right thing to do. But what it ended up doing was dropping me quite a long way behind who I was fighting and losing me 2 positions. So I should have just taken the penalty. So we're back down to 11th. Not particularly good driving on my part. But let's try and refocus, try and get some consistency back into the driving and see where we can get up to. Little bit of a dive bomb on the Nissan there. It was not my intention going into the corner, but it kind of just opened up for me. I don't know whether he was just letting me through or whether he jumped out of the way because of seeing me come through, but we end up making that position quite comfortably. The Lamborghini we were racing with a couple of laps ago obviously made a mistake out the final corner and we took him across the line. He's then caught us back up again, and to my point earlier, he dropped 3 or 4 seconds behind us. He caught that up in 2 laps. I'm not going to fight him. What's the point? He's going to get past me. You know, I'm not going to be able to defend from him for 4 laps. And what's the difference between 8th and 9th? So, let him go. I then cut the corner a bit too much and got another half-second penalty. But we do have 4 seconds to the guy behind. So I think 9th place is probably about as good as it's going to get for us in this final race. Especially as I keep picking up silly little penalties. So coming on to this final lap, we have been caught by the guy behind because I keep making silly mistakes. He did get ahead of us. No, he didn't get ahead of us. The guy in front made a mistake on that final lap and we caught up by 4 seconds. But unfortunately not quite enough to gain a position. But 9th place in that final race. So overall, not too bad. And as you can see, confirmation that we are our driver rating B. So that'll be it for today's video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll join me again for more average racing gamer videos.